We are just using the cans. If you got my email. Proprioception is basically just our awareness of our body, and can we feel parts of our body? Are we aware of where it is when it moves? And the cans make an excellent way to get a little bit more feedback. Today, we're probably going to focus the most on shoulder, arms, and core, because anytime we have even just 1 pound extra weight with whatever we're doing, you're automatically going to feel a little bit more readiness in the core, because you have to work harder against gravity. So everything that we normally do by just adding this small amount of weight, we're giving our brain a little bit more information. You're really going to focus on shoulders and shoulder blades today. And so you might feel like, wow, I've never felt this much of my shoulder blades before. And it's because we have this extra feedback of just a little bit of extra weight to give us that proprioception, or that feedback into the brain. So we're going to start with those cans nearby, have it ready, and we'll lie on our back and find triple S. So feel the back of the skull, feel the shoulder blades, feel the sacrum. Adjust as needed, make sure your chin isn't lifting way up, but try to keep that neutral neck, so back of the neck is long. Take those cans, and we're going to start by putting the cans right on our pelvic point. So the front of your pelvis, your hip bones, whatever you'd like to call it. You can have the cans the tall way, you can just have the long way, whatever feels more comfortable, but push down into your big toes and think about lifting your glutes up into the cans. So that small amount of hip extension with our neutral pelvis. Now focus on the feeling underneath the cans, those pelvic points, and draw those 2 pelvic points in like you're trying to tighten the space between the 2 cans. Low back is long. So this is our bridge pose, hip extension. Notice if it feels any different or any more challenging with just the small extra weight of the 2 cans at the front of the pelvis. Now hold the pelvis like this, keep the glutes on, bring the arms up. So we're holding the cans, and we're going to do some wrist flexion and extension. So as we bend at the wrist, like we're curling the cans back toward the forearms, wrist flexion, and then lift or pull your knuckles back. So wrist extension. So we're going to keep, we would normally do this without the cans, but notice with just this extra amount of weight, do you feel anything different in the wrist joint, in the forearms? Bring your hands or the can back to the front of the pelvis. Let's take one more breath in our bridge pose. And as you exhale, lower down 1 vertebra at a time, all the way until we feel that sacrum back down. Now you can put 1 can aside. We're going to have the can in our left hand. Right hand's going to come behind our head. So we're going to do our core work 1 side at a time. Right elbow way up or in toward the forehead. Take a breath in. As you exhale, feel your front ribs pull down toward the ground. Lift just enough that you get off the shoulder blades. It's teeny tiny. Keep the chin slightly toward the throat. Now take your can and reach it toward that left knee. And let's protract that left shoulder blade. Reach the can even further. Maybe we get a little bit higher off the shoulder blade. And then bring the can back in. Inhale to lower down. Exhale, feel the front ribs pull in toward the body. Lift off the shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. We're not yanking on the head. Reach the can toward that left knee. Protract, reach the can even further, but keep feeling the front ribs pull down. Bring the can back in or down, and then inhale and lower. Exhale, lift up, feel the front ribs pull in, feel the belly pull down, chin is slightly towards your throat. Reach the can toward that left knee, protract. Now stay protracted. Can you turn just 1 inch to the right? Staying off that right shoulder blade now. Bring it back, lower or bring the can in, inhale and lower. Let's do the other side. So switch the can into the right hand, left hand behind the head, elbow up toward the ceiling or elbow in toward the forehead. Big breath in. Exhale, keep the sacrum down, lift up, feel the front ribs pull in toward the body, chin is slightly toward your throat. Reach the can toward the right knee. Protract, reach it a little bit further, but keep pulling the belly down. Bring the can in or just lower the hand down and inhale and lower. Exhale, hold the sacrum down, right above the tailbone, lift up. Chin is slightly in. Reach the can toward the right knee, protract, reach that right shoulder blade away from the spine. Bring it in, inhale, lower. Exhale, lift up, feel the front ribs pull in, feel the belly draw down, reach the can, protract, now stay lifted. Turn through the center of the chest, 1 inch left, stay off that left shoulder blade, bring it back, bring the can in or lower it down, inhale and lower. Let's release that. We're gonna come all the way up into quadruped, coming to hands and knees. Set up for your quadruped, so shoulders are right over your wrist, hips are over your knees. Really find neutral spine. So we're not letting the ears drop below the shoulders, we're lifting the front of the throat up, but not the chin. Find that neutral scapula, draw the pelvic points in. Take the can in your left hand. Let's work on some shoulder flexion. That's an overhead reach or arm up toward the shoulder. So hold really strong in this right shoulder, right hand. Reach the can and that left arm forward. Any amount, keep the ribs lifted in toward the body, and then lower it back down. So it's a very slow, controlled, maybe a little bit of a swing forward and back down, and just notice. Hands don't usually feel heavy, but notice if it feels like you have to really rely on the core more, or those arm muscles to really stabilize. And let's switch hands. Bring that can into your right hand. Find your triple S, stabilize through that left shoulder. And let's reach the can or that right arm forward. This is flexion of the shoulder. Keep the ribs in and then bring it back. Swing it back. With control, we're reaching forward. This is shoulder flexion. And then bring it back in. Notice one side feels very different with the can. I can immediately tell that my right shoulder is not as stable, so this one that we're moving right now feels definitely more challenging than the other side. So just take notes of that. The can is great for things like that to highlight that. Okay, bring it down. Take a moment if you need to take a child's pose to get off the wrist. You could come to forearms and just take a couple breaths here. We're going to come back to quadruped in a moment and add on to that. But for now, let's feel that 360 breath all the way around the rib cage. And let's bring it back. Quadruped again. You could also be on fists. So let's take the can in your left hand. If you want to be on your right fist, you can, or on the hand. Feel that triple S again. We're adding on. So this time as we flex or reach that left arm forward, don't let the ribs drop. Slide the right toes back. Keep them on the ground, hip extension. And then slide everything back in. So the left hand lowers back down, right knee slides in. And then again, you reach the left arm forward, right leg back, toes on the ground, and slide it in. So this is slow. This is a controlled movement. Even that extra weight of the can is going to make this more challenging for the core. So notice if it feels like your low back is really arching, and let's switch sides. Can in the right hand, set up that neutral spine. Let's add it together. Right arm reaches, left toes back, and then slide in. Notice if this side feels any different. Keep the ribs in. And then check in with what's happening with the low back. We don't want to be moving from the low back. So keep it long, keep it steady. We're moving the left hip and the right arm. We're trying to hold still with the spine. Everywhere else, using the core. Last one. And lower down. Let's cat-cow. Inhaling, extend the spine, arching the back. Exhale, round the back, flex the spine. Moving at any pace that feels good. Heading to down dog, let's tuck the toes. Really keep pressing into the fingers as you lift the hip creases way up. Keep lifting the ribs in toward the body. So as we're in down dog, Maybe we already feel a little bit more heat around the shoulders, a little bit more awareness of the shoulders and shoulder blades. Can you stay active in the arms, lifting the ribs in toward the body? You can pedal the feet out if that feels good. But let's really think about lifting up into the pelvis. We're not pressing our weight back to the heels. We're lifting up into the pelvis. Good. Hands are going to walk back for happy squat. Huge bend in your knees as we start to lower the heels down. So now we're putting weight into the full feet, keeping this hinge at the hips. Rise up at the back of the mat. We're going to grab those cans and we're going to have one in each hand at the back of the mat. Let's combine that shoulder flexion, so that overhead reach, with hip flexion as we march forward. So we'll pick up our left foot, flex the hip. Now keep it as low as it needs to not let the back do the moving. Right arm forward and up. Now keep the ribs in. Flex that shoulder, so that's that overhead reach, but don't let the ribs pop forward. And then step forward. Pick up the right foot, flexing the right hip. Don't let the back do the moving. Keep that pelvis still. Left arm up, forward and up. Get that shoulder blade way up. That's going to help the action of flexing the shoulder. And then step forward. So we're just marching our way forward. You can go a little bit quicker. You can take bigger steps, smaller steps. But let's just practice this march. We've got that extra added weight. So again, any of this extra weight as we move the limbs is going to put more demand on the core. That includes the glutes as we're doing this standing balance. Okay, make your way to the top of the mat. We'll drop the cans for now. And we'll start our sun salutation 1. Knees soft, feel that triple S. Arms reach forward and up. Keep a big bend in the knees like you're folding in half, torso toward the thighs. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee, the top of the foot, 90-90 low lunge. Grab those cans. Feel your triple S here. Right glute is firm. We're zippering that pubic bone up. Cans come into the hands as we roll one shoulder back at a time. So bringing that extra awareness to the shoulder blades now with the cans. We have a little bit more messaging to the brain about feeling that roll of the shoulder, that movement of the scapula. Good. Hands come down, quadruped. Cat cow a couple times. Feel that movement of the shoulder blades here. They spread apart as we round the back. We draw in as we arch the back. Step your right foot forward. 90-90 low lunge with the right foot forward. Grab your cans. Lift up. Tighten that left glute. Feel your triple S. Roll one shoulder back at a time. So feel that movement. The shoulder blade lifts up. Draws in toward the spine and then down the back. And can we get this nice movement at the scapula without the rib cage doing the moving? Good. Bring the hands forward. Step that left foot forward to meet the right. Bent knee forward fold. Push into the feet. Rise up. Shoulder blades lift up toward the ears, but we keep the ribs in. Bend the knees. Fold in half. Hinging at your hips. Spine stays long. Left foot back. Lower the knee, not the toes. So now our toes are tucked under. Let's grab our cans again. So more shoulder and shoulder blade awareness. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging. Bring those cans and the arms forward. Keep the ribs in. We're going to pull the shoulder blades in toward the spine. Retraction. Draw down the back. Now protract. Reach the cans further forward. Lift the shoulders up toward the ears. Shoulders back, shoulder blades in. Draw down the back. And then protract, spread away. So we're doing scapula circles. When you'll notice how much extra awareness we're getting at the shoulder blades with the cans. Good. Lower the cans, quadruped. And let's cat cow. Let's get that movement here without the extra feedback. But are we starting to have a little bit more awareness of where our shoulder blades are and how they can move? Good. Step your left foot forward. Tuck the right toes. 90-90. Same thing here. Keep the cans forward. Let's reverse it. Let's protract first. Protract. Now lower down. Retract, draw in. Lift the shoulders up toward the ears. Protract. Pull the shoulders down the back. Draw in. Lift up. So we're going the opposite way we did before. This one might be harder. Really feeling just that extra demand in the arms, the shoulders, the core. Now bring the hands forward. Right foot steps forward to meet the left. Bend knee, forward fold. Reach the arms forward and up. Okay, we're going to start our first sequence. Bend the knees, hinge at the hips, torso toward the thighs without rounding. Right foot back, lower the knee, not the toes. Let's lift up for low lunge. Grab the cans, find your triple S. Now let's hip hinge here, torso toward that left thigh without rounding. We're not trying to go all the way, but we're trying to feel that extra demand on the core to hold the spine neutral and maybe in that left hip. Bring the cans and the arms down. Now think about pulling the elbows up like we're doing a lawnmower, but keep the elbows in nice and tight. And then a little tricep kick back, extend the arms back. Rebend. Hands and arms lower back down, but we keep our neutral spine. Pull the elbows up, keep them in tight. Extend the arms back. Rebend, try that a couple more times. I want you to notice what's happening at your front ribs. Are we drooping them down? Can we stay lifted? That's gonna need that extra core engagement to help out with that. Last little kickback. Good, lower the cans. Right hand comes under the shoulder, modified side plank. Slide that right knee in. Left foot steps back. Secure the right shoulder, not letting it wiggle around, and the right hip. So imagine your right hand and your right knee dragging or pulling toward each other like magnets. So we're really secure in our bottom hip and shoulder. You have the option to have no can or a can in your left hand if you would like. Let's really hold our triple S. Reach that left arm up. Tap it toward the ground. It doesn't have to come all the way there. Reach that left arm up. Tap it down. So you can have the can or not. Try that a couple more times. And the goal is to hold your right shoulder still. So not letting the head of that right arm bone roll forward at all, but holding it still as we add that extra demand on the left shoulder. Okay, you can remove the can. We've got a transition with our left foot. It's going to step forward toward the front of the mat. As we lift up, turn to the side for our goddess squat. Toes turn out, grab your cans, and place your cans together just like we normally have our knuckles together for some twist. Really check we're not over forcing the hips to turn out. We can feel that the tailbone's reaching long, not sticking out behind us. Keep the ribs in. Now the center of the chest, your sternum, you're going to turn from there, maybe an inch or two left and an inch or two right. So we're adding this small thoracic rotation both ways. Do you need to be a little bit more aware of the core because we have the extra feedback of the cans? Are we really feeling that the chest is staying broad? Good. Step to the back of your mat. Feet are about hips distance apart. Let's have the arms just at our sides or reaching right in front of us for hip hinges. Push down into your feet. Hips move back. Big bend in the knees as the torso comes forward toward the thighs. Now our hips are really moving back or hinging. Push the ground away. Rise up. Neutral spine. Hip hinge. Torso toward the thighs. We're not moving from the low back. The spine is staying long as if we had that broom taped behind us. It's happening from the hips, so we're folding in half at the hips. One more hip hinge. Keep the neck in line, chin slightly toward the throat. Step your right foot back. Left knee bends. We're in warrior two. We're facing the other side of the mat. Keep the ribs in, strong in the legs. Reverse it. Feel that extra core requirement by holding the can. Warrior two. Variation, side bend toward that left leg. Warrior two. Keep the arms out, parallel the feet, side lunges facing the side of the mat. Can we feel that triple S without popping the ribs? Chin slightly in toward the throat. Nice long spine. Good, let's step it back to the front of the mat. You can put the hands down for a minute. We've got the second side. Find that triple S. Arms reach forward and up. Lift the shoulder blades up. Big bend in the knees, torso to the thighs. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. We're in that 90-90. Grab your hands, lift up, feel your triple S. Left glute is firm. Now, just like we practiced in that hip hinge, same thing here. Torso's coming toward the thighs, but we're keeping the ribs in. We're keeping the low back long. Reach those hands down. Now let's get those triceps a little bit more feedback as we pull the elbows up, keep them in tight, lift the ribs, extend the arms back, and then rebend. So it's not about how far forward we're going. We're not trying to round the back. But the hinge is getting us extra demand and work for our right hip and glute in this position, keeping that neutral spine. We're relying more on the core, and then especially as we add this extra movement of the arms, and then with that extra proprioception of the cans. So we're just having to work a little bit harder than if we didn't have them. Modified side plank. Left hand comes down, left knee slides in. Right foot steps back. Set up your foundations first. Secure the left shoulder. Picture your left hand and left knee as magnets, or left hip and left hand as magnets. Draw them in toward each other. So super active in that bottom hip. Feel your triple S. Maybe the can comes into that right hand. We can reach and tap toward the ground, but we don't want to force it. We don't want to lose our engagement in that left arm. So don't let the head of that left arm wiggle around. Here comes that transition to goddess. So now our right foot steps forward to the front of the mat. We lift and turn, grab the cans right in front. We're in that squat. Add our rotation. A small amount we rotate from the center of the chest, but we hold the pelvis still. Turn to the back of the mat. Hip hinges, nice neutral spine, bend the knees, fold in half. Don't focus on how far you're going. Think about how much can you bring the torso to the thigh with that triple S. So as if you had a broom taped behind your back, touching the back of your skull, shoulder blades, and sacrum. Hopefully feeling this in the hips and the glutes. One more hip hinge. Keep pushing into the big toes. Left foot steps back now. Warrior two. Right knee is bent. Arms come out. Keep the ribs in. Reverse it. We're side bending toward that back leg. Reach the can. Warrior two. Variation. Side bend it forward. Push into that left foot. Tighten the left glute. Warrior two. Face the side of the mat completely, side lunges. Keep the ribs in. Back of the neck is long. Pelvis stays neutral. Step it forward, front of the mat. Okay, you can keep the hands. We're going to do our second set of this, where we add on to make it a little bit more challenging. So it's kind of like a stream, but we're only doing 2 sequences. So this is the second and last one. Let's combine some of that. So let's hip hinge, step out to the right, hip hinge, and then step it back together. We're going right into a high lunge with a hip hinge. Rise back up, step it forward. Step your right foot out to the right. Hip hinge, like a deeper or wider squat. Step together. Right foot steps back, high lunge. Hip hinge. Lift back up. Step it forward. You can keep it just like that. You could add arms. So as we step out, maybe our cans come out to shoulder height. And then as we step back into our hip hinge, you can add that tricep extension. Out to the side for your squat. And then you end up back in that tilted lunge. Option to add your tricep kick. So you're adding the cans if you'd like. Last one. If we're in that high lunge, we're going to end in modified side plank. Right hand down. Right knee slides in. Left foot back. Drag the right hand and right knee toward each other. Can in that left hand, maybe. You can reach the left arm overhead. You can float the left foot up. You can try pulling the left knee and elbow toward each other without changing the spine, and then extending it back out. So that's hip flexion with the left hip, pulling in toward the belly, and then adding that extra arm movement, just an add-on. You do not have to do that. Step your left foot forward, lift up, turn to the right for goddess. Now you can stick with our rotation like this. You can make the movement bigger, add a reach across. So this is getting into the shoulder blades too. We're adding rotation of the ribs, so the thoracic spine, and then that reach of the can gets into that shoulder blade protraction, spreading away from the spine. Good, turn to the back. Hip hinges, this time we add on. Keep the cans down as you hip hinge. Push into the big toes. Torso to the thighs. Now as you rise up, lift the heels. Maybe we reach the cans up overhead, shoulder flexion. Lower the heels, hip hinge. Spine is long. Push the ground away, lift the heels. Maybe we add the cans up overhead. Keep the ribs in though. So don't let the ribs pop forward just to get the arms up overhead. They don't even have to go in line with the ears. They probably might not. Okay, step your right foot back. Warrior two. Left knee is bent. One time, reverse it. Warrior two. Variation, side bend it forward. Warrior two. Turn all the way to the side of the mat. Side lunges. You can have arms out. You could also bend and extend at the elbows. So find your option, whatever extra challenge to the core and shoulders and chest you'd like to take. And step it forward toward the front of the mat. Let's do that on the second side. So starting, you know the option with the arms, you can go right to it. Our feet are going to step out, left foot steps out to the left for that squat, and then we step back with the left foot, high lunge, hip hinge, and then step it forward. Step your left foot out for that wider squat, and then back to that hip hinge lunge. You can combine the movements a little bit more, make it less transitions. You can add the arms, so stepping out to the left, arms out. And then as you step back, you can do that tricep kickback. If you're doing that, make sure that the head of your arm bones aren't rolling forward as you do that. So keep the chest more broad in the collarbones and keep the ribs in, and you'll feel that much more in the shoulders, scapula, and triceps. Okay, heading to modified side plank, left hand down, left knee in, right foot steps back. You can stick with this. You can have the can in the right hand. You can have the right foot up. You can have the arm up overhead. Maybe we add that hip flexion. Depending on what you're doing, we all want to hold that triple S, so we're not rounding the back, we're not moving the low back. We're holding steady using the core and adding this potential extra challenge of moving the limbs. Okay, left foot steps forward. Sorry, right foot steps forward. Turn to the left, grab both hands, goddess squat. Stick with the rotation or add the reach as you rotate. If you would like to feel more in the scapula, really reach that can. Step to the back of the mat. Hip hinge. Hinging at the hips, push into the feet, use the glutes to get back up, lift the heels. Maybe we lift the arms. Your choice here. Add the overhead reach or not. Keep the ribs in. So we don't want to be popping forward. We want to move with that integrated position of ribs stacking over the pelvis. Left foot steps back, warrior two. Hold the pelvis still, strong legs as we reverse. Feel that side bend here up toward the armpit, warrior two. And then variation, side bend it toward the right leg. Push into that left foot. Back to warrior two, side lunges. Arms can stay out. You can add that elbow bend and extend. Keep that feeling of a broom behind your back. Good. Turn to the front of the mat. Quadruped. Let's cat-cow. Moving, or you can circle, you can swivel, whatever feels good. Let's come onto our backs. Roll onto your right side once you get there. Keep your neutral spine. Reach the arms over to the right. As you inhale, open that left arm up and back. You can also keep the left elbow bent. And then exhale it back over. Couple rotations here at your own pace. Notice how the chest feels. How does that left shoulder feel? How does our rotation feel? And then switch sides, roll to your left side. Spine stays long, right hip is stacked on top of the left. Inhale, open that right arm back. Exhale it over. Come on to your back. We'll have the knees bent, soles of the feet on the mat, and really feel that triple S. Feel the back of the skull with the chin slightly toward the throat. Do you have a little bit more of a sense of where your shoulder blades are now? Your shoulder. Can you feel the sacrum? You can have hands at your sides. You can have hands on your rib cage. Let's finish with a few deep 360 breaths. Inhale, feel the rib cage expand front, side, and back. Fully exhaling when you're ready. Get that next inhale into the ribs, front, side, and back. Fully exhale. And on your next breath, in and out, you can thank yourself for your practice today. Sending one grateful thought out into the universe.